Literally just got home from work. Filthy weather again. Cold, wet, and just had our hay delivery turn up. All right, Vaughan. So we're just bringing the hay round. Girls are enjoying it, aren't you? Everything's so much more difficult in this weather. The ground. But we are in February now, so we're nearly through it. You know, really from September onwards, we're prone to rain and mud. We were really lucky in the autumn, and we went right through to December with our ground in a really good condition. And even now, even though it's disheartening to see it now, so much better than when I look back at the YouTube videos from this time last year. So much better than it was then. So we've done really well. I mean, look at this paddock behind me here. This time last year, both of these were sodden. Now that I'm keeping them off this because we've got baby goats due in, I don't know how long, but not long, 5 or 6 weeks. So a week before they're due, we'll bring them down into this bottom paddock so that they can have a, you know, a much nicer last little bit of their pregnancy and then kid down there. So, you know, it's February now, and we're just saying, my wife and I, we're just saying we're nearly through it. You know, February is the worst month. It gets progressively worse, December, January and February. And then once we're into March, even if the weather doesn't let up, it doesn't give us a respite, it feels better because, you know, just knowing it's March will be a big boon for our mental health and our, you know, just how we feel about it. So we're nearly there. We're nearly there. Got to load the rest of this hay up now and then go and feed the pigs. That's the hay done. Next stop, I've got to go and put some pig feed. I've got some bins in the car park there with pig feed in. I've got to put them in the trolley and then take them up to the pigs. Just had a nightmare. So this trolley is immensely useful to us at the moment. Our ride-on mower is not starting, and I need to book that in to get it looked at because it's beyond me, beyond my capabilities to get it going. But even if it was working, the reason I'm not in a desperate rush to do it is because we just can't use it at the moment anyway. It would just churn up this ground. There's literally nowhere we could use it. It would just, oh god, it would be like it would make our meadow look like a motocross track. So we're down to, you know, human power. This here originally is I think a carp fishing trolley. Yeah, I don't know if any of you listeners are into carp fishing. I used to be once upon a time, but the stuff that carp fishermen carry around with them, the guys who take it seriously, they sell them these trolleys to be able to move all their fishing equipment from their car to the lake and back. We came across this at one of the poultry auctions that I mentioned to you sometimes. Obviously they're not running at the moment, but when they start up again, I'll bring you guys to a poultry auction. You'll love it. It's really quite a thing. But they have dead stock there as well, which includes all sorts. And we found this. I think we paid maybe £30 for it, certainly no more, but brand new, they're well over 100. And as you can see, over the last couple of years, we've had to reinforce it as it's gradually given way. Anyway, with my gammy wrist, I managed to drop a hay bale just a second ago on here, and it's just pulled this off. The hay bale landed on here and it's ripped this off of its housing. Now there was a split pin through here which held it on, and that's just snapped in two, which is perfect. It's you know, really like super helpful that that's happened now when it's getting dark and it's raining. So I'm gonna see if I can find another split pin to hold that in place. I'm already feeling what's the point in looking? You're never gonna find one, only because because of how the week's going. I'm sharing all this with you, right? I'm sharing all this kind of everything going a little bit wrong the last couple of videos, and a little bit miserable in the weather and the ground and everything. I'm sharing it with you as a precursor to say, is it worth it? Is it worth it? And for me, it absolutely is. So there's two, hang on. I'm just going to attempt to find a split pin. So much I need to do. So much I need to do. And no time to do it in. If I hadn't fallen off that ladder, I'd be so much further ahead with everything than where I am. So I've got all sorts of stuff in here. I know it's not a very good shot because it's dark, but I've got all sorts of stuff in here. I feel like I could MacGyver a little anti-aircraft missile or a tank or something like they used to do in the A-Team. I feel like I could do, you know, I could do anything with the stuff in there when I can find it. I can't find anything at the moment. I mean, look at it. It's horrendous. I have, yes, okay, so in the door to my car, I keep a paper clip paper clip and a pin, because you never know when you need one, and for cleaning out the jets on your washers and things like that. So I think the paper clip might just do the job for now, until I can get another split pin. Let me see. There she is, look. Not quite Windows 98, but yeah, so that's going to work for now. Anyway, where was I? Let me get this done a second. Okay, so the hole is actually a little bit bigger than I thought, so I've been able to get a nail in it. But what I do need to do is just bend that nail over so that it doesn't fall out, because if it falls out in the meadow somewhere and ends up in the foot of a goat or something when we're moving them around, that would be unforgivable. So I'm just going to bend it round. Luckily, I always carry these as well, a little multi-tool that I carry with me everywhere I go. So I'm going to bend that over, load it with pig food, and then we'll carry on our little chat. So obviously there's a downside to using second-hand. Hello, Sprocket. The hole digger. You know, that it would be lovely to have brand new, top-of-the-range things for everything you wanted. But there's also a huge upside to using reclaimed, reused, recycled, and second-hand stuff. You know, firstly, I've got a nice clear conscience about my footprint on the planet, and it's far from saying I'm perfect. Far from it. That's not my point. But my point is I'm trying my best. Generally moving away from consumerism is something that I enjoy. I enjoy the process. I also get a huge kick out of being able to bodge something. The fact that I'm now pulling this, even though I broke it 2 minutes ago, but I'm able to pull it now with the use of a nail and just the tools I had in my pockets. I love that. Like I say, I get a huge sense of satisfaction out of that. Anyway, we were talking about this whole affair of being, or trying to be, self-sufficient and growing your own food and raising animals and everything else. And is it worth it? And you know, for me, yes it is, 1000%. Now, this is the hardest time of year. Now, that's not to say everything at this time of year is horrible, but this year in particular has been very, very challenging in terms of being able to enjoy what we're doing. And the reason for that is in no small part, I just fed the pigs, in no small part due to the avian influenza, you know, the bird flu that we're suffering, and the fact that that's meaning that our birds are so much more confined. Couple that with the ground that we're fighting against, the wetness, and particularly for my wife, you know, it really devastates her mentally just to see the birds in a much smaller space with less good ground than she would like. And, you know, couple that with just the general state of the ground, the fact that I had to have so much time when I wasn't able to do anything because of my injury. And, you know, that's led to us being a little bit behind. We might have been able to do some other things. I might have been able to earn some money that we could have spent on things. So we're very, very limited. We're very, very limited financially. We've been very, very limited time-wise in the run-up and the start of the winter. And it's, you know, all these things have had a knock-on effect, and it's made it really difficult. But when you step back and take a second to think, and, you know, think this is as hard as it's going to get, this February, to me, it's still incredibly worth it, because the amazing joy that we get the rest of the year, in the spring and the summer and the autumn, and even now, you know, I love to come out and see our animals and see the vegetable garden. And I realized just the other night, my wife had this conversation. I can't remember the last time we had a meal where we weren't eating something that we'd made ourselves. It might not have been the whole meal, but can't remember the last meal when something on the plate wasn't something we'd produced. Recently, you know, we've had several dinners where the whole thing has come from the garden, and it's so rewarding. And I can't put a price on that. And so yes is the answer. Yes, it's 100% still worth it. And you have to take the rough with the smooth, and you have to accept that there's a price to be paid. But that's the same whatever you do, whatever your hobby is. And you have to look at this like a hobby. You know, it's not a money spinner. You can make some savings for sure, but you have to look at it like a hobby. But whatever your hobby is, if your hobby is judo, then you know, you're going to be spending some money on equipment, on a gi or whatever it might be. So whatever your hobby is, you know, there's downsides to it. There's a cost to it. Overall, I just think I just can't picture myself doing anything else. Something else I wanted to say as well is how much we're still learning so much. Now, for those of you new to my channel, you might not realize, but we've been doing this for nearly 3 years, 2.5 years really. And we started from ground zero. We started from scratch. So 2.5 years ago, there was no animals here. We had maybe 5 or 6 chickens outside the back of the kitchen. We moved from a house where we didn't grow any of our own vegetables, and we kept a few chickens as pets, and for the, you know, pets with benefits, which is a term that I got from Julie Ellaby at Elegant Sufficiency, pets with benefits. So yeah, that was all we had, and we'd had the world's smallest amount of experience growing vegetables. You know, we'd grown a few vegetables once every 3 years or something in our old garden. So whenever I say anything like this, and I'd never fermented anything, I'd never baked bread, I'd never made chutneys to preserve things, I'd never made jams. I'm trying to think of all the other things that I now do in the kitchen. I'd never even considered making cheese or milk a goat, much less butcher a pig. These are all things that are really, really new to me. So whenever I'm sharing these things with you, I'm sharing them in as much amazement and wonder as you are if you're hearing about them for the first time. I'm certainly not saying, look, this is something I'm an expert at. I'm showing you what I'm learning as I go, and I'm sort of using these videos as a way of capturing our journey, if you like. But like I say, that what I wanted to talk about is when you can't really tell, but it's getting quite dark now. As you've seen, you know, I've just got home from work. I've done a physical day's work. I've got home. I've not made it into the house yet. It's going to be dark by the time I get in, and this is usual. And it's February, you know, so it's lighter now than it was last month or the month before. And even now, you know, I'm not getting any time to do some fun things out here, really, is what I'm trying to say. But even now, you know, do I think it's worth it? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And it's a combination of all those things that I spoke about, but also something I mentioned on the last video about being the master of my own destiny. You know, everything here that I do, I'm doing because I'm choosing to do it, and I'm reaping all the rewards of my hard work. And there's nothing, there's no outside force that can interfere with me putting food on the table. Isn't that amazing? You know, just that alone is an amazing thing. There's nothing that could happen to the economy that's going to affect me putting food on the table. There's nothing that could happen to supply chains globally that would affect me putting food on the table. And there's nothing that could happen in, you know, the local area that would stop me putting food on the table. And I just think that's really incredibly rewarding and fulfilling for me. Not everyone's the same. I'd like to think that if you're watching this video, you kind of get it. You feel the same way. So that's where we are. I'm gonna go in now. I've got wet feet. I've got wet hands. I've got wet clothes. It's cold, but I'm not miserable. The weather's miserable. I'm not miserable. Thanks for watching. I'll speak to you guys soon. I was just fed the pigs, in no small part due to the, oh, exciting,